Okay, we're doing this in one take. We're doing it live, so you might see things get progressively darker as I go. And I might stumble a little bit, but I think you're used to that by now. I'm talking about J. Paul and Frank Ocean playing Coachella last weekend. And I'm talking about the nature of the artist and audience relationship in general. I did a shorter version of this video on TikTok. I could only do 3 minutes, couldn't do longer. I don't want to do too long now because I'm going to go live on TikTok soon and I don't want to be too late. So, J. Paul and Frank Ocean both played Coachella last weekend. That was only the first week. They are due to play it again this weekend. I'm really looking forward to it. This Coachella was touted as the first Coachella festival where they would have live streams of every artist on every stage. That's a big deal because there's only so many people that can physically go to Coachella, and both geographically and financially, because that festival is an enormous cost. So a lot of us would be shut out, but these are two artists in particular that haven't been on stage in a while or at all. So there was a lot of demand to see it. So I really appreciate that Coachella were willing to do that with all the artists willing to do that as well, with an asterisk there. J. Paul was the name that first caught my eye with a lineup. I wasn't that interested in the festival as a whole. I'm more of a J. Paul fan than a Frank Ocean fan, but I think they are in similar boats when it comes to what I'm talking about. J. Paul was playing Saturday, 7:40 California time, about 3:30 in the morning, Sunday, UK time. Come the day, all of us were in disbelief that he was actually playing because this guy has never played live before. J. Paul's story is interesting. He first recorded stuff in about 2007. He had a MySpace in 2010. He put out a song called BTSTU. I remember hearing that debuted on Radio 1. I swear I had a nap and woke up to the sound of that song, and that song opens sounding like it's a dream. He had another song that came out called Jasmine, in brackets, Demo, and then what we thought was an album of his. So BTSTU, I think, was 2011. Jasmine was 2012. Just songs, not albums, EPs, just songs. April 2013. We thought we got an album from J. Paul. We all rushed to get it. It was maybe 13 songs. It was incredible. It was incredible then. It's incredible now. But we later found out it wasn't an official album. Someone had stolen a CDR from J. Paul and leaked those songs online. He was so hurt, he even went to the police. I don't think the person that leaked it has ever been found. But I truly think they altered the course of pop culture. Because as a result of those songs being leaked, J. Paul massively retreated. I feel like I tilt my head a lot like this and trying to fix it. J. Paul massively retreated from releasing music because he felt so hurt, so violated that someone had leaked all these songs online and that they had caught on like wildfire. So 2013 he releases, I say releases, those leaks got out. 2019 was the next time he released anything. He released 2 songs, Do You Love Her Now and He. As far as his own releases go, that's it. We're talking less than 20 songs over the course of at least a decade. And Coachella last weekend was the first live show any of us had ever seen him do. We were all in shock and awe that this was even happening. There wasn't even some kind of hint that he was building up towards playing live. It was just bam, his name was on the poster. Frank Ocean, similar to J. Paul, he's the type of artist where less is more. I don't need to tell you this. You already know Frank Ocean's story, but just in case, part of the Odd Future Wolfgang crew with Tyler, the Creator, at the helm. He put out Nostalgia Ultra in 2010. Channel Orange, I think, was 2012. Put out 2 albums in 2016, Endless and Blonde, and nothing since then. So it's been nothing of his since then. Both of these artists have worked with other artists, either in production, in songwriting, or as features. But as far as what's been released under their own names, it's a bit limited. Frank Ocean has played live a lot more, but he's also a bit, maybe withdrawn is a term to use. They kind of feel a bit like Kate Bush in that when they arrive, you know about it and it makes an impact, but otherwise they are perfectly happy being completely off the radar. So these are 2 big ticket names for Coachella. J. Paul was playing first. He played Saturday. Saturday just gone. So that's the Carry the One, Soul for X. Saturday the 15th, numbers, of April. He was down for 7:40 on Saturday, California time. So that's about 3:30 a.m. UK time on Sunday. Early in the day, people noticed that his name was no longer among the lineup of artists that were going to be live streamed. So at first we thought maybe he's just cancelled live streaming his performance. Then we were afraid he might have cancelled his whole performance in general because, understandably, it's his first time coming on the stage and he's doing it at Coachella in front of a packed tent. It wouldn't be so unheard of if nerves, pressure got the better of him and he withdrew from even performing. So people were trying to reach out to anyone who was on the ground to find out if he was still performing or not. And then there was confirmation that he was in fact on stage. He started a bit late, some technical issues. And then eventually Coachella said his live stream will show at 11:40 California time, about 8 a.m., 8:30 UK time on Sunday. So come 8:30, I happened to be awake at both times. Come 8:30 Sunday, some of us gathered in what felt like the church of the J. Paul subreddit, and we were in the live chat while watching that performance, and it was sublime. J. Paul, if you ever get a chance of seeing this, you absolutely knocked it out of the park. You, AK, your drummer was on form, bassist, synthesizer. I don't know who that person was that sang along and played synths, but they were incredible as well. Forgot to mention, J. Paul did start a website with, I think it's his brother, AK Paul. There was a thing called the Paul Institute. I think they were trying to cultivate and nurture other artists and get some collaborations going and so on. But this was the first time either of them took the stage and they completely smashed it. It was sublime. It was glorious. It was almighty. I loved that set. I've watched it quite a few times since. Incredible. Hopefully it won't be the last time he takes the stage. Hopefully we'll see him on stage more, and I cannot wait. Frank Ocean is the headliner for Sunday the 16th, yesterday. I already mentioned that Coachella said this festival will be the one where they live stream every artist from every stage. On Sunday, it was announced that Frank Ocean's set would not be live streamed. We in the J. Paul community felt some serious heartbreak when we thought we weren't going to get the live stream, but then we got the relief that it was. I can only imagine how the Frank Ocean fans felt and are feeling that they didn't get that live stream. So everyone flocks to Instagram to try and find any fans who are at Coachella filming from their phones to watch their live broadcasts of the show. It's like a guerrilla recording of it. So you're no longer seeing something official, you're just seeing it from the point of view of a fan. There were some live streams where the person filming would sing along with the performance, much to the irritation of those watching the live stream. Shout out to @MorganDoesn'tCare on Instagram. I get the impression they are responsible for most people getting to watch that live stream, that live show, without having to physically be there. Now, the response to J. Paul's performance is pretty unanimously 10 out of 10. Frank Ocean's performance has been a bit more divisive. I've seen some of it now. I haven't seen the whole thing, but I already see where people are coming from. It starts off a lot more downbeat. This is the headline act, the last headline act. First of all, he started late, which is understandable at festivals. You've got so many acts coming in and out, things happen, and you think he was about 40 minutes, an hour late. Not unheard of, but already I can imagine patience is being tested in the crowd. Never mind the fact that people have paid so much money to be at this festival, and some people have been stood in the same spot in that desert for up to 10 hours or more, trying to get the best possible spot to watch Frank Ocean perform. So he's late. People might already be a bit peaked. There might have been some conversation about whether he would even perform in the first place, if he might pull out at the last minute, but he did take the stage. The vibe was a lot more downbeat, a lot more solemn, a lot slower, which isn't crazy for Frank Ocean. His music in general can be a bit more downbeat as is. Crowd were into it. After the first song, there's already a noticeable break between that song ending and the next song starting, of silence and preparation. Crowd is kind of yelling, yay, woo, all right. But otherwise, he's not talking to the crowd. There's no performance or anything happening. It's just like almost like waiting until the next song can start. That kind of thing can kill the momentum. From what the clips I've seen, there are some songs that were performed where he didn't actually sing. The song just played. There were remixes of songs played. There was a DJ section where, like, you just heard some EDM music, not him performing. There was a security guard who danced, who I think twerked, who was featured somewhat heavily. And generally speak, and it was also cut off a bit short because there's a curfew. Because he started late, that means he could only do so much with the remaining time. If you're the headliner and you go late, you, the artist, are fine. So I can understand why he had to cut it short there and then, because time was up, essentially. The response has been mixed. Some people loved it. Some people were down for him no matter what. Some people were really aggrieved with what they got. And this is where I really think about the artist-audience relationship. I've seen a growing trend of essentially weird behavior at live performances. Here in the UK, there were complaints of people watching live theatre and singing along with the performers, which is not what you're supposed to do. Some theatre performances, if they include a lot of popular music, they'll tend to have like a come back on stage and perform some of the songs again, specifically for the crowd to sing along. But in the throes of the actual performance and the story, it can be really off-putting as an actor to be trying to sing and people singing along with you. It can throw you off. There's been talk of people being more aggressive in the crowds at live shows, people singing aggressively loudly. So when other people are trying to film, all you can hear is the person next to them singing over it. And I think it boils down to the incredibly high costs of live performances and how that cost only seems to be rising more. With the two artists I've mentioned about Coachella, J. Paul and Frank Ocean, giving you a little taste of their history, these are two artists that march to the beat of their own drum, that do things their own way. And that is a large part of the reason why they're loved, they are championed as much as they are. But when it comes to live performances, especially ones where people are paying so much to see it, there seems to be a little less willingness to go along with the artist's journey and a little more entitlement, a little more, I'm a consumer and this is what I expected. It's like going to McDonald's versus going to a gourmet restaurant. You go to a gourmet restaurant, you might ask for whatever the special is, and whatever the chef brings you, you're happy to have. When you go to McDonald's, you want the Big Mac, you expect the Big Mac, you know what you're expecting in taste and feel and appearance and everything, and you're upset if you don't get that. I'm trying to look at the camera. Sometimes I keep looking at myself, so forgive me if I'm looking in weird directions. I'm so bad at YouTube. But we persevere. So you've got these two more avant-garde artists in a scenario with an audience that I think at that situation is a little more McDonald's, wants what they've paid for. They want to hear the hits. They want that more textbook good time. I said in my TikTok, I'll say it here, however you responded to that live show, your response is valid. If you loved it, if you hated it, if you're indifferent, if it made you love Frank Ocean more, if it made you write him off completely, you can feel however you want to feel. By that same token, Frank Ocean, by all accounts, can do whatever he wants up there. It's his show to do it as he wishes. Now, at some point in the show, he does explain that he lost his brother not too long ago. I can't imagine the blow that must have been. Him and his brother used to go to Coachella together. So yes, there's a celebratory element of, oh, he's surrounded by people who love him and love his music, but I can't imagine what that must do to his heart to be in that place. I appreciate him sharing that, because what might have felt more downbeat, what could have been read as lackluster, at least there's more context for it, instead of just seeing it as this artist doesn't care about the show, they don't care about the fans, they're just there for the paycheck. Gives a bit more context. It doesn't mean people aren't allowed to feel let down by the show. But I do wonder what this means for the future of the artist-audience relationship. With ticket prices just spiraling upwards, I wonder how long festivals will last in general. There'll come a point when hardly anyone can afford to go, or people are going in serious debt just to be able to go. And if they're going for performances that aren't doing exactly what they want them to do, I can see less people being inclined to want to go. That Frank Ocean performance, for some people, that could be enough to say, right, I'm not going to festivals anymore if it's going to be like that. I'd rather stay home and watch the live stream instead. But I can't see us getting to a point where an audience gets to dictate exactly what the artist does because they paid so much. I mean, if that was the case, they wouldn't be artists anymore. They'd just be like puppets, essentially. At the same time, artists can only get so dictatorial from the stage. There's some artists who will say things like, no camera phones at my show. Or there's that classic viral clip of Lorde singing a song a cappella and then telling the crowd to shush so that you can hear her singing. There's some elements of that in performances, but there's only so much an artist can do of that. The audience is there to do whatever the audience wants to do. I don't know where we meet in the middle here. Never mind just how tough it is. I'm talking about really big ticket artists here. Never mind what smaller artists are going through to play live. I believe being able to play in America just got way more expensive now. They've upped the cost of, I think, visas or something like that to be able to perform live in America. If you're a UK artist who wants to tour internationally, especially in Europe, after Brexit, I think you already know how much tougher that's become. So it's already, and then there was the whole spout of artists on tour in vans, having their vans broken into and their equipment stolen. Never mind the rise of gas prices, the cost of energy bills in the UK, meaning venues are that much more struggling to survive, venues taking a cut of merch sales. It's hard out there for artists to just perform in the first place. It's hard for audiences to be able to afford to go to these shows. It feels like what should be a real union. The artist and audience should be as one. It should be one giant communal experience. But our audiences are going in with more of a entitlement, more of a I'm the main character. I paid so much for this. I'm expecting this and this and this. If I paid for a seated ticket and I want to stand in the aisle, I'm going to stand in the aisle. If I want to sing extra loud when everyone else is being quiet, I paid, I don't know, $200 to be here. I'm going to do that. And then everyone else. And then there's the thing about how shows have really become less about being there in the moment and more about filming as much as you can because of the clout you can get. The sincere take on Morgan Doesn't Care filming the Frank Ocean show is that this is a fan who loves the show and just wants to share it with as many people as possible. The cynical take is that they know they're going to get a lot more attention for doing this, so that's why they're doing it. Audiences in general, it's not uncommon to see the whole audience just light up with phones wanting to film whatever happens next. A key example of this is the 1975. Everything Matty says in between songs. I can imagine he just sees the whole crowd waiting with bated breath, like, what's he going to do now? At one point, he was eating raw meat. He was breathing from an oxygen tank. It was almost like a theatre performance or a circus. Just, oh, what's he going to do now? We're in a weird place when it comes to live shows. I don't know what happens next. I have talked a lot about my love of music from the 2000s. That was the last time you could see live shows without camera phones. So there was some amazing stuff that happened that most of us will never know about except through hearsay. One key example of that is when Daft Punk played Coachella in 2006. I'm going on a bit long here, I apologize. Daft Punk played Coachella in 2006. That was, I think, the first time they played with their massive light pyramid. It was a eureka moment for electronic dance music worldwide. I don't think you get Skrillex, Avicii, R.I.P., Zedd, Deadmau5, the Chainsmokers. I don't think you get that whole genre of music or genres of music without Daft Punk in 2006. There's some grainy footage on YouTube of that show because that's all people could do with the phones and cameras they had at the time. But anyone who was at that Coachella will claim to have been in that tent when, of course, there were only so many people. J. Paul's performance felt similar because who else could say they played their first ever show at Coachella to a packed tent after only releasing one album 10 years ago that wasn't even a real album. It was a leak that got out there. That felt like a pivotal moment as well. I hope it is. I hope we get more from J. Paul. Who knows? But that, like I said, this whole video, these are artists who you learn to expect the unexpected. But J. Paul's performance felt like a moment to witness such an impactful artist who's done so much with so little play on a stage for the first time and nail it so well. Frank Ocean's performance feels like a turning point in a similar, also feels like a turning point, but maybe in a different direction, where we really take a look at what do we want as audiences, what do we expect from artists, where are we going with this, with prices, with expectations, with filming, where are we, and where do we go from here? I think that'll do for now. Thank you for watching. Hope this video was a bit more interesting than the last two where I might have been guilty of rambling. Hope you didn't mind the whole one take thing. I'd love to know what you think about all this, and you know exactly where to do that. Find me on TikTok. I'm about to record a podcast. Find me on there as well. Otherwise, thank you very much. One take. Genuinely one take. I've only pressed record once. I'm not going to ruin it now. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.